Hello, you're listening to Wee Ood, a Doctor Who watch-along podcast. I am Ben, and as always, I'm here with my co-host Cam. How you doing today, Cam?
It was weird when we're recording this the day of your on a weeknight. Usually we try to record these things on a weekend, just because on a weekend you have a little bit more energy. But doing it on a weeknight, I worked today.
I did
I'm a
too.
little bit tired. I just ate some dinner, and I'm ready to go to bed. But it's before I can go to bed, we're gonna have to talk about some good old classic Doctor Who, Ben.
Yes. What could be better way to wind down your day than with some classic Doctor Who discussion? And today we will be discussing the third serial of season 9, The Sea Devils, originally broadcast the 26th of February to the 1st of April 1972. This serial sees the Doctor and Jo go to visit the Master in prison, who's been imprisoned following the events of the demons, where they uncover his plot to have the titular Sea Devils, a cousin of the previously seen Silurians, wage war on humanity. So, Cam, who wrote and directed this episode?
So this was directed by Michael E. Bryant, who previously did no episodes. Actually, no, he did one episode. I lie. He did Colony in Space, which was also written by Malcolm Hulke, of course. Then he did later on. He'll do The Green Death, Death of Daleks, Revenge of the Cybermen, and The Robots of Death. This was written by Malcolm Hulke, which makes sense because this is a kind of sequel to Doctor Who and the Silurians. And he previously wrote, of course, Doctor Who and the Silurians. He wrote The Faceless Ones, I believe, and then he going to go on to write Invasion of the Dinosaurs. And yeah, that's who they are, Ben.
I see. What's your overall impression of the episode?
Honestly, Ben, I really like this episode. I always wanted to watch the Sea Devils. It was always one on my bucket list, even as a kid, just because of the design of the Sea Devils, and also just it's one that it's a loved one in the fandom, right?
Yeah, I think people like it.
I always wanted to watch it as a kid, never got around to it. I attempted to watch it in high school, but only watched like a part or two and just wasn't feeling classic Doctor Who that day, I think. But now, finally, after all these years watching it, I very much enjoyed it. I thought that it was a great Master and Doctor story, even though it kind of failed at being a Sea Devil story. What did you think of it, Ben?
It sounds like I didn't love it quite as much as you did, but I still thought it was pretty good. This Roger Delgado Master is great as always. Sea Devils, I kind of wish there was more of them, maybe.
Oh, definitely.
And we can talk about it later, but comparing them to the Silurians, they don't work as well in certain areas.
Totally agree.
But the costumes they have for him is much better than Silurians.
No, it's a great mask, especially for like this time period. It holds up really well in my opinion.
It's got a little bit of like dead fish vibes.
But that works also in a little way. That's
It
like
does, yeah.
it looks fishy. And it makes sense. And when the Silurians doesn't really make fully sense of why they look that way, this one it's like, oh yeah, this would totally would imagine. You would imagine these like ancient sea creatures would look like. It's great.
Yeah. They don't have head beams, head
No.
lasers. They just like fish people, which makes more sense. Yeah, so overall, very positive. What did you think of the Doctor in this episode? How was he?
I think it was a refreshing change for Pertwee to be in an element where he wasn't fully in charge this episode.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot that like the third Doctor is a Doctor that's in charge and he has power with Unit. And with this episode, because we don't have the Unit family like we have been for a majority of the stories of his era, it was refreshing to him be kind of less in control and having to overcome the odds in a lot of this serial.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he gives a really great performance in this episode with Roger. All like John Pertwee and Roger Delgado are just have such great chemistry together. There's not a lot to say. I would say overall that it's a very it's just he's the doctor in this episode. There's not any moments that you're like, oh yeah, that's very not doctorish, and that is very doctorish. John's good in this episode. It's just nothing I would say in particular stands out to me.
Hmm.
But I think that overall it works very well that he's not in his stereotypical power, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He's definitely kind of out of his element, working against the odds and the establishment, trying to make sure that what happened with the Silurians doesn't happen again. And of course it does. I'm glad in this episode he had a gun and he didn't shoot anybody with it. He just gave it away at the first opportunity and only used it to help people escape.
He does like almost kill that Silurian though on the beach when he's doing all like those explosions with the sonic screwdriver.
Oh, he
Like,
was just trying to scare him away.
they were pretty close to that fella. Like if he didn't kill him, he must have scared him to death almost. Like what the fuck's going on?
Oh yeah. Well, this is the first kind of real instance of the sonic screwdriver. It was name dropped.
What did you think of that moment, Ben?
It was good. There was in Calling in Space, he had his little trap detector stick, which might have been the sonic screwdriver, and he had the hypnotism thing for Agador in the last episode, which the TARDIS wiki says was the sonic screwdriver with an attachment on it. I don't know if I buy that, but this is the first real instance.
And then he has the door opener and Inferno, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah. I don't know if that's a sonic screwdriver. It might just be another sonic device because Liz also has
But you know what
one.
I'm saying? Like, is this kinda?
He's
it's
been
it's
toying
in
with
the
it for
camp.
a while, but now it is here. The multi-tool, because the last name drop sonic screwdriver was War Games and Fury from the Deep, where it is just a screwdriver. But now it is the Time Lord multi-tool Swiss Army knife.
And of course, this is the debut of the sonic screwdriver in the terms that we would imagine, and not just like in the war games. But like the design of it is the classic sonic screwdriver design that the third, fourth, and then fifth Doctor for a little bit has, and then the seventh Doctor has in the TV movie. What did you think of this design of the screwdriver, Ben?
It looks cool.
The big thing, of course, that separates Pertwee's screwdriver from the other screwdrivers is like the yellow and black like banding that it has and like the
Yeah.
on it. It's a great prop for the Doctor. It works so much better than the stick that he has in the war games. It looks like an alien technology that would be super cool.
Yeah. Not just like a little flashlight thing.
And like it looks like, even though they didn't of course make a toy out of it during the era, but like
They
it looks
released
like
that now.
it looks like it would be a toy, you know what I mean?
That is marketable as hell.
Yeah. I don't know, especially for like the classic show. It's a very well designed prop. I bet you we could look it up. I'm actually kind of curious what it's made out of. But in terms of like moments, I would say like that's probably one of them. The Doctor moments that stands out to me this episode is that moment on the beach. Has Joe's like in his arms almost next to him, and like Pertwee's in his like full getup of like the cloak on, and he has the gloves on, and he's in the there's like they have that wind. It's I think that's a moment. It's just a great visual moment for the third Doctor.
I looked it up on the TARDIS wiki. Are you familiar with Thunderbirds?
I think is it a little like puppet thing?
Yeah, it's a little
Like a puppet show?
sci-fi puppet movie or show, movies and shows or something like that. That was around in the 60s. According to the TARDIS wiki, his sonic screwdriver is a reused prop from the film Thunderbirds Are Go, where it was a screwdriver that presumably one of the little puppet guys are using.
That's hilarious. But what did you think of that moment, Ben? Of when Pertwee uses a sonic screwdriver on the beach,
Yeah, really cool. He definitely like an iconic moment.
and then the other iconic Doctor moment, which maybe we should say this when we talk about the Master. but like it's the fencing duel.
Oh, yeah,
When do you want
absolutely.
to talk about that? Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk that later?
Yeah, let's talk about it right now. Really cool. I would say it kind of epitomizes the Doctor and the Master's kind of relationship and who they are as people, where the Master's using brute force and sly means, and the Doctor at every turn is outsmarting him, but not pressing his advantage. And I really like, the Doctor seems to be like enjoying the contest, the battle of wills. He has them at sword point and he gives the Master back his sword so they can keep fighting. And then it makes the line that he says earlier that, the Doctor used to be a friend of his, that they were schoolmates, mean more, I feel like.
Oh yeah, and it's the duel so great that they showed it twice.
Oh, yeah, in full.
Which I have to ask, did you watch it again or did you skip?
Oh, I watched it again.
I didn't skip either. I watched it in full because I'm like, oh yeah, and I don't know about you, but I watched them back to back.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
you watch them back to back?
back to back.
So it was just like I just watched this, but I'm just gonna watch it again.
Mhm.
But no, it's a great moment. It's for the classic show. It's a really good choreography,
Oh, yeah.
especially when you think of like it's Pertwee and Delgado doing it themselves. Um, we don't have that in show business anymore. Um, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's a very great moment. Like you said, it's the them being in a constant fencing match kind of sums up their relationship. And then I think the next thing that we should talk about is what you mentioned is they mentioned that they went to school together, which was the first moment I believe they mentioned that they were schoolmates.
Mhm.
Which is something that we get another hint at it. I know in the new series. I don't know if they talk about it more in the classic show, but they talk about the Doctor and him at the academy together. Of course, this is the first time that we find out that yes, the Time Lords they would have to go to school.
Mhm.
Who would have thought? They're just like us, Ben.
They're just like us.
It doesn't reveal it in full, but it gives us a little detail in their relationship together.
Yes, they're not just old enemies like he was introduced in season 8, but they're also old friends.
Which again, it's kind of like something that I love about their relationship is that there's still like a little bit of that. We don't fully know the full details of the relationship. We don't know like what the master like what was the moment that the master and the Doctor fell out. Like what was that moment like? Like that's something that I don't want Big Finish to do that because like that's just a bit of the lore that like I love that we just don't know if you know what I mean.
Mhm. I did today actually get a Virgin Missing adventure with the second Doctor and the Master, which I think kind of goes into it a little bit more of their relationship.
But here's the question: is it canon?
Is anything canon?
Great point, man. Great point.
Yeah.
It's all what matters is what's in your head canon, Ben. So Ben, what else, what's next? What are we going to talk about next?
Aside from the wonderful duel, what did you think of the Master in this episode and his schemes?
I think that he shined this episode. I love the beginning when it's that question of what's really going on here.
Yeah. Is the Master imprisoned or is he in control?
Yeah. It's a very master thing to be in control of their own imprisonment. And I thought that the side character of Trenchard was a great side character. Like the prison warden and director or whatever. The guy who's in charge of the prison. I thought that him and the master had great chemistry together. And I love like the master just like egging this guy on and just being like, we're in this together. Like
Gotta stop the saboteurs. Yeah.
I think that stuff is great. And I I was gonna say it was like this is very similar to the demons. Like we kind of already get at a point to this point of like what is the master's goal? The master's goal at the end of the day is I'm gonna get a power that's gonna help me destroy the world, right?
Yes. The world that the Doctor holds dear.
And for this episode, it's the Sea Devils, and like we have that moment that's straight up moment from the demons, where the master and the doctor have a match of pick me, no pick me, no pick me.
Oh, yeah. A whole debate about, who the Sea Devils should trust, and they say, "Nope, neither of
Oh,
you."
but like I'm just saying, like before that, it was like the whole pick me, no pick me. I could do that with the doctor and the master all day long.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So what did you think of the master this serial
Yeah,
then?
yeah, same thing. He was great. His plan made sense. He was very scheming. His plan doesn't always make sense, but it makes sense here. Love the image of him like tapping away at his little device while trying to keep it secret. Thought it was a little silly towards the end where the doctor has rigged the device to have a piercing sound that hurts the sea devils, and it goes on for like 2 minutes while Joe breaks everybody out and they escape before the master says, "Shut it off, shut it off." Presumably he's just standing there watching the sea devil writhing in agony, but I guess that's just television. But yeah, really good. Duel was definitely the best moment of the episode.
Oh yeah. So are we gonna be talking about Joe, or should we move on to the Sea Devils next one?
Yeah, let's talk about the last of the recurring trio, Joe.
I don't honestly have that much to say about Joe this episode. I think Joe's there. She doesn't do that much to the plot this episode. I think she's much more
Except
like
get her sandwiches stolen.
I was gonna say highlight of the episode for me. I love that little moment of when the doctor just takes it from her and just eats the sandwiches, and then it's like, "Oops, sorry." It's a
Oh,
very
but
like
would the doctor do that though? That was kind of mean. In a playful way, but like still, she was hungry.
the third Doctor in particular is a bit selfish, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, there's other doctors that aren't as selfish, but the third Doctor is very much me, me, me. How many times he's like, "I'm right. You have to do it my way. I'm a genius."
All the time.
Like that. The third Doctor is very much self-centered, and I think that fits for his character. And I think it is a funny moment. But except for that, I would say like because Joe is a lot of the times away from the doctor this episode, she doesn't really do anything for the plot, if
Oh, I
in
like
my mind.
the her bit where she escapes and then, she's like sees the doctor through the window and like signs out a elaborate plan. And then she sneaks in and uses her escapology classes to break him out. I thought that was a good scene. Oh, and at the beginning, the doctor is like bribes the sailor there to take his boat. And then later, Joe bribes the same guy to take his scooter or motorcycle, whatever it was, to go after the doctor. I thought that was funny
No, I agree. That was a great moment.
because the doctor's always leaving her behind.
Poor Joe.
Oh, the bit with the radio was funny too between the doctor and Joe, where Joe's kind of making fun of him for not having it work. And then it does work. And the doctor says he is like proud of himself and it's like, "Oh, this is a remarkably efficient piece of work." And it explodes in his face. That was funny. Any other thoughts on Joe?
No, it's just that I think that overall there's not a lot to say about Joe in the story because she's very much away from the doctor for majority of it.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of the Sea Devils then?
So again, the design incredible.
Yeah.
So I watched a little bit of the behind the scenes doc for this one, and they talked about in that the design influence was of course a turtle, and you can definitely see that in the design that it's kind of turtle-esque. Also in the doc, you might find this funny. The designer designed it. He was thinking the costume designer was going to give it clothes, but they didn't. So it's just gonna be like a naked sea devil. And he was like, basically was like, no, we can't have this happen. We can't have this happen. So he goes to the costume designer. It's like, we got to do something. And it's like, she was like, don't worry about it. And that's how they have like this like fishnet clothing.
Yeah. I think it
Yeah,
works.
it does.
It's kinda, like, elegant in its own way. Could buy it being, like, flowing in the water.
But it's like it's something that like proves to you that the design's good is when you look at what when they did bring the Sea Devils back a couple of years ago, that design is just they did not change anything. Have you seen it? I just sent it to you.
Oh, yeah. That looks
Exactly the same.
it looks a little bit less, uh, gaunt and wrinkly, but more or
Like
less
when
the
you compare it to
same.
like the Solarian in particular, where they completely redesigned it. The Sea Devil is like almost the same design. But yeah, like I think it's a very strong design. I think the idea of doing another Solarian story, but have it be another like race, is a great idea for a story.
Yeah.
But I think something that we're gonna probably talk about is that you don't get a lot of them. For like the first 4 pots, they're just kind of there and just in the background, just fucking things up.
Yeah.
And then we really see them only in pot 5, and then in 6 they just are basically defeated.
Yeah.
So we don't get to see a lot of their civilization / their motives.
Yeah, I think it's lacking on that front for sure. Like, the Silurians, we become very intimately familiar,
Yeah.
but the Sea Devils, it's a lot easier just to say, like, "Oh, yeah, they're evil monsters."
And like because we don't see as much of them, the whole colonization subtext is kind of absent that was there in the original story, if you know what I mean.
In Doctor Who and the Silurians?
Yeah, that one is much more clear that okay, no, this is a comment on colonization.
Yeah.
This one, it's not really that in this text, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's much more. It's a master doctor story, and the Silurians are just insert master power. But yeah, like it's a great design, great idea to have it be like this water cousin of the Silurians, but not really used enough in the actual story.
Kinda wish Unit was in the story so that, like, the Doctor could be more mad about what happened with the Silurians.
That definitely would be interesting.
Like, if it was the Brigadier about with his finger on the nuke button again.
And then you have like maybe another military figure in there that is telling Brigadier, "No, you have to do it. We have to destroy them." And then the Doctor's on his other, being like, "Don't do it. Don't do it again. You already made this mistake once. I hope you learned enough from your experiences not to do it again." Like stuff like that. And then maybe at the end of the day, they wouldn't have done it, but then they would have came to their own demise or something like that. Would have been cool.
Yeah, it retreads a lot of the same ground despite being a kinda sequel. So I think that would help kinda tie things together.
It retreads the grounds, but doesn't really add enough to it.
Yeah.
Doesn't say anything new with this story, which I think your idea would have added something new. Even though I would say I do like the absence of Unit in this story. I think that's a refreshing change in the pace
Yeah, that's fair.
of the era. Especially like watching it like we have. It's nice to not have a story that's Earthbound that's not Unit based.
Missing Benton and Mike Yates
And Osgood.
and Osgood. So what your overall favorite moment, what would you say it is? The duel?
Oh, it's the duel. That's the best moment of this whole fucking serial. What would you say?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
So Ben, I think I think it's time for the game, Ben. Let's do Ben. Guess the Doctor Who action figure.
Sea Devil.
So I'll give you this, right? There's a 2-pack.
Mhm.
So your first guess is the Sea Devil?
Like, is it a particular Sea Devil or just a Sea Devil?
No, just a Sea Devil. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong. I think there are 2 variants of it. One was a standard release and one was in the 2-pack. And I think one of them was was much more like the cloth was like white.
Mhm.
And the other one, it was much more like the green that's in the cereal.
Yeah.
And then there was another figure, Ben.
The Master?
No.
Joe.
No.
Isn't Joe in a helmet or anything?
Sadly, no.
Is it the head Navy guy there? I don't know his name.
But Ben, you're thinking too hard into this.
Trenchard?
But Ben, you're thinking way too hard into this.
Is it Doctor Who?
Yeah, it's just the third Doctor variant. Fun fact. I had this 2-pack of the Silurian, another Silurian, the Sea Devil and the Doctor.
Really?
And I loved it as a kid. But the third Doctor, did you notice that he has a handkerchief in this story?
No.
But he has a handkerchief in this story, man.
That's
And
crazy.
no, but Ben, you have to see this. It's pretty funny. He has a handkerchief, but they didn't have like the money to make a handkerchief on the Doctor. So the Doctor literally has a triangle painted onto him to be the handkerchief. It is literally just a white triangle.
Ah.
Which I don't know why the fuck they were like, yes, let's add the handkerchief really fucking matters, that we just have to make a white triangle.
I would have been inaccurate otherwise.
But it holds a special place in my heart, Ben, because it was my John Pertwee figure growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben, what to discuss next?
What do you think of the music this episode?
So Ben, the music was done by someone new.
I could tell.
It was done by Malcolm Clark, and this was one of the first times, or the first time, that somebody from the BBC Radiophonic Workshop, which made the score when the series. This was the first time that they used them, who made the score for the show. You can definitely tell, like you said, because it's weird.
It's very synthy and beepy, like they've had a new kind of synth tool that they wanted to use. A little bit abstract, but not inherently bad.
Not gonna lie, I very much enjoyed it. There's a couple of things there. I'm like, all right, this is a little bit headache inducing. For the most part, I enjoyed it and thought that it was pretty.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was pretty, like, you could imagine that for the time this was pretty revolutionary sounding. No other show was sounding like this.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on to do more for the show. He does mainly one of the big ones he does is Earthshock, and he also does Resurrection of the Daleks, The Twin Dilemma, Attack of the Cybermen, and Terror of the Railroad. So a lot of the 80s stuff. Barry Letts, I think, wasn't that happy with it. Or am I just making that up? Oh yeah, he basically, Barry Letts just made sure that it was like edited down. He was just like, this can't happen. This is the edited version by Barry Letts. So who could imagine what the original version would have sounded like?
Well, what do you think was the best cliffhanger of the episode? So there's the first one where the Sea Devil, or what would appear to be a Sea Devil, is approaching from around the corner at the sea base, when it's reality it's just one of the guys. Second one is during the duel, the Master throws a knife when the Doctor's back is turned. The third one is Doctor arrives at the beach. The Master turns on his machine and a Sea Devil emerges from the ocean. Fourth one is the diving pod comes back up and it's empty. The Doctor is nowhere to be found. And the fifth one is the Sea Devils have infiltrated the Navy base, and Joe says, "Doctor," and there's a Sea Devil.
For my notes for that one, I just wrote, a Sea Devil! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Yep.
So I would say, for the most part, there's a lot of good cliffhangers in this one.
Yeah.
The part 3 ending on the fight, of course, is great because we just saw the fight.
Part 2.
Oh, sorry, yes, part 2. Part 2 is great because we just saw the fight. But I don't know if it works, if I'm more seeing that because the fight is good or if the actual cliffhanger is good. I don't think the cliffhanger is that great.
No. I'd say my favorite is probably the fourth one.
See, I was going to say, I think fourth is also a pretty good one with the diving capsule revealing that, oh my God, there's no Doctor. But I would say, for me personally, it's part 3. It's the Sea Devil emerging from the sea. It's one of the many iconic images from this serial.
That's true.
And I just have to talk about, because we haven't talked about it yet. Those poor guys. Those poor fucking guys.
I was picturing them in this like rubber mask, having to be like underwater, probably half drowning themselves.
It would be awful.
Yeah.
Like being in those suits would already be bad, but when you add it like water of the ocean on top of that, like it's surprising that none of them died or got seriously hurt.
Yeah.
Because you could just imagine like one of them like that mask would like waterboard them and like suffocate them in that mask. Like
Yeah.
you could imagine that would be terrible.
I could see that very easily happening.
But I think that shot is such a great shot. And there's a couple other times where we see the sea devils emerge from the sea, and it's always it always is like, oh, that's fucking cool. Seeing them emerge from the sea. So that would be mine. It would be part 3.
Yeah. That's a really good one too. Well, one thing I just want to throw out there, a moment each of the Doctor and the Master. The Master in, I think, episode 2 is watching a children's puppet TV show with little aliens going doo 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 doo, and he's enraptured and like making little whistling sounds. And he's like, the warden comes in, and he's like, "Oh, that's a puppet show for children." And the Master shuts it off, but he seems sad. I thought that was funny.
Just wait, Ben. Not to spoil it, but there is a new series reference to that. So get excited, Ben.
Oh, I'm getting excited.
With this, doing it the way that you did, you're gonna be able to get to that moment, and you're gonna be, oh my god, I know what they're referencing.
Wow. And a Doctor moment I really liked was right before he goes into the diving capsule. The kind of Navy guy says, "I assume you're a trained diver as well as your many other accomplishments." And the Doctor says, "Naturally," because the Doctor, he knows everything. He can do anything. Thought that was a funny moment. Any other kind of moments he liked, or any other fun facts for the episode?
In part 3, there's a line that I thought was pretty funny, where I think it was Trenchard said, "This is no ordinary prison. If you try to escape, the guards would shoot to kill." Like, it just reminded me. There's like that. You haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
I have not.
But there's a line in that one that it's like Bruce Lee's talking. It's just like, my hands are registered as like lethal weapons. If I kill you, I go to jail. And then Brad Pitt's like, yeah, that's just got manslaughter. Like that's everyone. That's not just your hands.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is the same thing. It's like, that's fucking what prison doesn't shoot the prisoners that try to escape?
They just kindly ask you, "Hey, could you get back in, please?"
Maybe that's how prisons work in Britain.
Yeah, it's probably
We
just
just
American prisons that are going
yeah.
around shooting their prisoners, slaughtering them like animals.
They don't have as many guns in Britain, so they can't waste the ammunition. Where are we in America? God, we got enough to spare, man. We got enough to spare.
Yes. Yeah, for all the British people watching, every man, woman, and child has a gun.
You come out of the womb, you get your birth certificate, and you get your fucking gun.
Yeah, children get their licenses in elementary school or primary school.
Oh yeah, big day.
Big day. Well, how would you rate this episode, Cam?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to pull up the ratings. So in terms of the other ratings I did, I think I was looking and I was like, do I like the story more than Day of the Daleks? And I'll have to say yes. Do I like the story as much as Terror of the Autons? And I would have to say no. So that left me with a very nice number of 7.9. What about you, Ben?
I don't think I like this as much as The Curse of Peladon. I don't know.
Really? Huh.
I liked it more than Day of the Dalek. I liked it more than Silurians. I'll give it a 7.8.
So you like it more than Terror of the Autons?
Do I?
That's what I'm saying, Ben. Because Dave Viewer, he rated Terror of the Autons 7.7. So now you have to think. Thank God, Ben.
I'll match it. I'll do 7.7.
Okay, there it is.
I don't think it's better, but it's solid.
So I have the poll up. Ben, do you have the poll up too?
I don't have it up.
So what are you predicting, man?
I'm predicting it's like in the top 15, but not the top 10.
You are wrong. Actually, what were you gonna
No,
say?
actually, I bet it's like 9, like a low, maybe top 10.
You were close. It's number 8 this year. Last
Really?
time it was number 9. Then it was 7 in 2009, and in 1998 it was 8. So it's been around the same spot of 8 through 9 throughout the past couple of times, which makes sense. I think this is a very solid story.
Yeah. If you told me it was like 11, though, I'd believe you.
But it's one that's like it's kind of similar in spot to Terror of the Autons, which makes sense. We had that both pretty rated similarly
Yeah.
of terms of like quality. That they're both I would say very good episodes of Doctor Who. Maybe not very good episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah. It's solid.
Yeah, one that you cannot enjoy, but one that maybe you won't return to like immediately, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. There's others I would watch first.
Like well, the way I'm thinking, we're gonna have this discussion now. It's like a 9 is one that I will rewatch. Like I could rewatch that like twice a year. An 8 is one I could watch like every 1 or 2 years. And a 7 is one I could watch like once every 3 to 4 years. You know what I mean? If that's a good like way to describe it.
And a 6?
A 6 is like I could watch this like once again in my whole fucking life.
And a 5? Never again?
A 5, I'm never gonna watch that. I'm not gonna watch Colony in Space ever again, Ben. Are you planning on watching it again in your lifetime?
Counting the days. No, probably not.
There's a great quote. I think it was Moffat, but I think Moffat quoted Russell T Davies. He said like something along the lines of, "Don't worry about the Doctor Who fans. If they don't like an episode, that means they're just gonna watch it 15 times."
Mm-hmm. Think we'll have any like 1s or 2s or 3s?
Well, supposedly we have the Time Monster this season, 2 episodes from now.
And the mutants.
Mutants too, but I don't think Mutants is going to be that bad. I think Mutants is going to be another similar to Colony in Space. Time Monster, I've heard, is supposed to be really bad.
I heard Planet of the Daleks isn't good either.
I haven't really heard anything about Planet of the Daleks.
Just looking at the like letterboxed reviews.
I've heard Death of the Daleks is low-key underrated. I've heard that take.
I guess we'll see. Any other quick lightning round fun facts for us, or are we all?
So we should do the fun facts. We should, because see, we should have said this at the beginning, but we try to switch it up this episode.
Yeah.
Experiment with the format. So some fun facts that we did not cover. Something that I found interesting was that the model of the submarine.
Yeah.
It was just like a basic submarine model kit, but they added a propeller to it. And somehow they stumbled upon a prototype submarine that the Ministry of Defense was working on. So then they got all like scared and they went to like the director and say, "What the fuck's going on? How do you know this information?" Which is hilarious. This is the last story to feature the Third Doctor wearing his original outfit. You don't see it again until Day of the Doctor in the 50th anniversary.
Oh, he changes his outfit?
Well, you know what? You know, like the he always changes his outfit, but this is like this is the same one he wore in Spearhead, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. The like black with like a
Velvety
red
blue.
lined cloak kind of thing.
And then another fun fact is this is one of only 11 stories to not have the TARDIS at all. Because it's not even like we had like the console room this time, like we do some episodes. This one is just no TARDIS at all.
Nothing.
Poor girl. The poor girl. All right, Ben. I think that's going to be all for today's episode.
Yeah. Please be sure to, if you're listening on any podcast platform, give us a rating. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the Q&A section.
In the comments on YouTube.
Yep. And in the comments on YouTube, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube as well.
Make sure to check out our shorts content, which we post every week along with the episode.
Roughly the same time. YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us everywhere. devote your life to us, please.
We already know that you're devoted your life to Doctor Who. Why just not add another podcast to that circle?
Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Have a great day, everybody.
Peace out.
See you next week, where we'll be discussing the mutants.
Ready for those fucking caves, man. I'm ready for them.
Oh, baby.